The winning blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
So it is Thursday, and you are in the lab room, and I am your host, Lou, and I thank you for joining me. It is Thursday, which means it is football day. So we have a Thursday night matchup to discuss today on the program. The matchup tonight will feature the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the San Diego Chargers. I'm not going to lie to you. I am not very enthused about this matchup. Really not that excited. And I'm not going to try to make you excited about something that I'm really not excited about myself. I'm going to give you analysis of what I think is going to occur in this game. I'm going to give you my prognostication. And then we're just going to move on. I'm not really going to spend a lot of time on this game because it features two teams that I really don't care too much about. The Kansas City Chiefs are a team that, in my opinion, really underachieved this season. I was expecting a lot out of the Kansas City Chiefs this year. I thought Romeo Crennel coming in, with the way he coached up that defense a year ago, was going to be a very sound defensive team. They were going to be in ball games. And if Matt Castle could just not turn the ball over, and I'm not asking him to revert to 2 years ago when they won that division and he was like 28 touchdowns or 20 touchdowns over 7 interceptions. I wasn't asking for those type of numbers from Matt Castle. I just wanted him to be a game manager. I just wanted him to take care of the football, not turn it over, and give the Chiefs a chance to win. Give that defense a chance to keep them in the football game if opportunities present itself. And they were getting all of their stuff back. They were getting Jamal Charles back. They were getting Tony Moriarty back. And you felt good about what they were coming to the table with on offense. They went out in free agency and got Eric Winston, who was a surprise cut by the Texans. They were able to land him. That was a big free agent fish. That was a great catch by the Kansas City Chiefs. And so you thought, okay, with Jamal Charles coming back, Moriarty coming back, Eric Berry coming back on the defensive side of the football, this Chiefs team should be able to contend in the AFC West, which is not a strong division. We're talking 8-8 winning that division a year ago. And it was tied for 8-8. The Denver Broncos were tied with the San Diego Chargers, and they just won the tiebreaker. So they won the division. That wasn't a strong division a year ago. And with Peyton Manning entering that division, you thought that the level of competition in that division would have to step up if you wanted to keep up with the Denver Broncos. But they got off to a slow start this year. But they had murderers row, for a schedule, did the Broncos. And so them getting off to a less than blistering start was not a surprise to me. But now they're starting to get it in gear. Peyton Manning is starting to get back into Peyton Manning form. And now they're starting to look like the team that we thought they were going to be coming into this season. The Chiefs, on the other hand, I don't know what to say. I didn't think that them losing Brandon Carr in the offseason would make that much of a difference. But it has. No longer can they lock up teams on the outside and make them one-dimensional, essentially. And if they choose to throw, you were in trouble. That's no longer the case in Kansas City now. Stanford Routt, who they went and got from the Raiders, he's not a good cover corner. He's a guy that face guards a lot. He's not going to make a lot of plays on the football because he's not looking for the football half the time. And so they've been getting gashed in the passing game. And surprisingly enough, they're not stopping teams on the ground as well as I thought they would either. What really makes this Kansas City Chiefs team such an underachieving team this season is the offense, or the lack thereof. Their inability to take care of the football. Matt Castle has been a turnover machine this year. They even tried to bench Matt Castle, but that didn't even work because Brady Quinn, who was his backup, who they gave the starting job to over the bye week, got a concussion in the second quarter of the matchup against the Oakland Raiders in their first game off their bye. So that didn't even last a full 2 quarters. Even when the Chiefs try to do something right, it still ends up being wrong. And that's just how the season has gone for the Kansas City Chiefs up until this point. They haven't performed well on offense. They've been terrible on offense. They haven't lived up to the expectations of what was set a year ago on defense. And special teams, they're not doing anything either. They essentially lost the game last week on a special teams turnover. Javier Arenas muffs a punt, the Raiders recover, and the game's never the same after that. The Chiefs are getting the football with a chance to either tie or take the lead in the football game. Instead, he fumbles, the Raiders get a touchdown, that game is done. So the Chiefs aren't performing on any side of the football. Any facet of the game, they are not excelling at right now. And teams are just beating them because they're not a very good football team right now. And they have a lot of talent. That's the thing that I think makes a lot of people so disappointed with this Chiefs team. They have talent. Most teams that aren't winning football games, that are really bad teams, they don't have a lot of talent. You look around the league and you look at all these 1-win teams, teams with 2 or 3 wins. You look at them and you say, okay, I can understand why you only have 2 wins, why you only have 1 win, why you're struggling to even be in ball games every week. You don't have any talent. That's not the case with this Chiefs team. That's what's so frustrating. You look at the offensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at Jamal Charles. You look at Dwayne Bowe. I like Jonathan Baldwin. You look at Tony Moyaki. We're talking about skill guys that can get it done in the National Football League. You look at the opposite end of the football, the other side, on the defense, you look at Eric Berry. You look at Tamba Hali. You look at Brandon Flowers. I mean, they got guys, and they seem like they draft number 1 draft pick defensive linemen every single season. Don Terry Poe, Glenn Dorsey, Tyson Jackson. They seem like they draft them every year. So there's talent there. The question is, why is it not performing? And that's when you start pointing at Romeo Crennel, and that's why I fear for his job this season. Because I feel like he's getting a raw deal because he doesn't have a quarterback. You don't have a quarterback in this league, you don't have a shot in this league. And I still blame the Chiefs for that because they had Kyle Orton. I'm not going to go into that again. I've done it too many times. I know you're tired of hearing me say it, so I won't go into that whole rant. But they had a quarterback in their possession, in Kyle Orton. They let him walk away. And so I really don't feel bad for them not having a quarterback. I don't feel bad that their quarterback situation is in shambles right now. I don't. But it's hard to fathom that much talent on one team not getting it done. But it's not hard to see why it doesn't happen when you look at how often they turn the football over. You can't win in the National Football League turning the football over. It's simple as that. You can have the number 1 rush offense, which the Chiefs did for a majority of the season. You can have it all you want, but if you're going to fumble the football, if you're going to, and Jamal Charles has had his fair share of fumbles this season, if you're going to fumble at the quarterback position, if you're going to throw interceptions, if you're going to muff punts, if you're going to fumble kickoffs, you're going to lose football games. And so you look at the opposite side of the field in this game at the San Diego Chargers. And rule number 1, you don't trust the San Diego Chargers. Under no circumstances do you trust the San Diego Chargers. Because they're not trustworthy. They don't get it done in critical situations. It just doesn't happen. Their head coach is not a winner. Their quarterback is not a winner. And frankly, I think this whole organization needs to be revamped. And I feel like in the offseason, that's exactly what's going to happen. Norv Turner is hanging on to his job by the thinnest of thread. I'm telling you, if they have a couple more losses in a row, I wouldn't be surprised if Norv Turner, for the second time in his career, is fired during the season. I don't want to see that happen. Norv Turner is a great guy. He's a great coach. And in terms of offensive minded, he's a great offensive coach. Let me rephrase that. He's not a leader of men. And what we've seen before our eyes happen to the San Diego Chargers is really simple. The amount of talent on this roster is diminishing every single year. And it's obvious. It's painful as it's been to watch it happen. It's happening right before our eyes. They went from 4 or 5 years ago being one of the most talented football teams in all the National Football League to one of the teams that is just a ho-hum team in terms of talent. 4 or 5 years ago, Phillip Rivers was throwing to a young, spry Antonio Gates, to a young, hungry Vincent Jackson. He was throwing the ball to a jitterbug in Darren Sproles. He was handing the football off to LaDainian Tomlinson. Hell, he was even handing the ball off just a year ago to Mike Tolbert. I bet he even misses that at this point. Now, Antonio Gates is starting to age right in front of us. Quentin Jammer, he's getting up there in age at corner. Antonio Cromartie, one of their better corners, he's now a Jet. You start to see the wheels start to set and turn in motion for the demise of this San Diego Chargers team as we know it. Phillip Rivers has regressed because he's not throwing to elite talent anymore. It's so much easier when you throw the ball up to a 6'5 Vincent Jackson or a 6'5 Michael Floyd who's being defended by a third, maybe a fourth corner because you have other receivers out there that can get it done. So much easier when you can just toss it up to a 6'5 guy, or you can get, Antonio Gates one-on-one because you got to pay attention to Vincent Jackson. And he's running free in the secondary, running past a linebacker or a safety, making plays. So much easier to be an efficient quarterback, to be a borderline elite quarterback when you have that kind of talent around you. When you can just dump it off on a 3-yard stick route to Darren Sproles and watch him go 48 yards for a touchdown. So much easier when that is right there for you. So much easier when you turn around and hand the ball off to a Darren Sproles, to a LaDainian Tomlinson, to a Michael Turner, to a Mike Tolbert. So much easier when those guys are carrying the football. Makes your life that much easier. Your job that much easier. Hard when you hand it off to Ryan Matthews and he's fumbling. Hard to throw it up to Michael Floyd, who was once getting single covered by a third or fourth corner, now getting covered by a second or first corner up in coverage. Hard to do that now. Hard to throw it to Antonio Gates, who's not getting as much separation as he once was because he's getting up there in age. That plantar fasciitis, that took 2 years off of his career. He's not the same Antonio Gates. There's no more Darren Sproles. There's no more Vincent Jackson. So you start to see Phillip Rivers press. Now he feels like, I got to get it done myself because these guys, I can't trust them. I got to win this football game. I can't hand it off to Ryan Matthews. He's no help. He might fumble the football. So I got to try to drill it in there and fit it through a tight window, knowing I don't have the strongest of arms. Now he's throwing picks. Last year he threw 20 picks, accounted for more than 20 turnovers. He's on a crash course for the same thing this year. He's no longer a top-flight NFL quarterback. He's a run-of-the-mill quarterback now. And his San Diego Chargers team is not getting it done on defense either. You used to could count on the defense to get pressure on the quarterback, to be physical up front, stop the run, make you pass, and when those outside linebackers get to pin their ears back and go after your quarterback, you're in trouble now. That's no longer the case. Their best player on defense now is Eric Weddle. He's a safety. When your safety is your best player on defense, chances are it's not a good look for your defense. So, I don't know. It's tough if you're a San Diego Chargers fan because at the end of this season, I expect wholesale changes. I expect Norv Turner to be gone. A.J. Smith, the GM, might be gone. And expect this whole roster to be overturned. Because when you get a new coaching staff in there, they have no ties to the old roster. These players that are dead weight for the San Diego Chargers right now, they have no ties to these guys. They come in, they evaluate what they see on tape, and they're going to start cutting guys and getting personnel in there that fits what they want to do. Guys that are more of who they think can help them win football games. So this San Diego Chargers roster is probably going to be totally different next season. And probably that's a good thing. Because this San Diego Chargers team, they've outworn their welcome. They're no longer the team that threatens to win the AFC West every single season. They're no longer the team that is a Super Bowl contending team year in and year out. They're no longer the team that, hey, this San Diego Chargers team might be the best team in all of the National Football League. They're no longer that team. They're a team that is struggling to win football games on a weekly basis. We saw them 3 weeks ago blow a lead against the New Orleans Saints on the road, giving the Saints their first win of the season. The very next week, on Monday Night Football, they started out like gangbusters, opening up a 24-0 lead at the half before blowing that lead in the second half to the Denver Broncos at home, by the way. At home, they blow a 24-0 lead and lose by double digits in that same football game. They come off of a bye week after having a chance to lick their wounds. They go to Cleveland and lose 7-6 in Cleveland. So now they're losers of 3 straight. They're looking for answers. They're searching for them. They don't know how to stop the bleeding. I tell you how you stop the bleeding. If you're the San Diego Chargers, the only way to stop the bleeding is to win a football game. And you know the best way for the Chargers to win a football game this season? Play the Kansas City Chiefs at home. And wouldn't you know it, that's what's up on the docket for the San Diego Chargers on Week 9 of the National Football League. Luckily enough for them, they have the Kansas City Chiefs coming to town, a team that's struggling to do anything right. They can't stop turning the football over. They can't sustain drives. They can't score points. They can't finish drives with touchdowns. They kick field goals. The defense is begging for help. They're not getting it from the offense or the special teams. They're not a good football team. And so if you're the Chargers, here's your opportunity to win a football game. And as bad as you have played for the last 3 weeks, you're 1 game under 500. You win this game tonight, and you're back to 4-4, 500 on the season. It's crazy to think that you still have a shot in the AFC West if you can just turn this thing around for as bad as you have played the last 3 weeks that you played. Of course, you had a bye week, so we're talking about over the last month, you've been terrible as a football team. But with 1 win and a little bit of hope, maybe a little bit of momentum, you can turn this thing around. You're only a game out of the lead in the AFC West. Don't see you winning this division, but I tell you what, you can get a win tonight, which you should. And again, I hate picking the San Diego Chargers. That's rule number 1. You don't trust the San Diego Chargers unless they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs at home. Now you have to pick them because you can't pick the Chiefs. Yeesh. Can't pick those guys. Yeah. That's tough. So you pick the Chargers in this one because they're the better football team and they're home. They should be able to get the job done. If they can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 1-6 on the season, they can't get a win against the lowly Kansas City Chiefs, who can't get out of their own way this season. They can't beat the Chiefs. Norv Turner needs to be fired tomorrow. And I don't ask for guys to be fired. But if they can't beat the Chiefs at home, Norv Turner probably doesn't need to have his job anymore. That means he's lost that football team. Because as bad as they played, their worst game this season probably would have been good enough to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's just a fact. The Chiefs aren't a good football team. So they better get it done tonight. I expect them to get it done. Again, if you don't watch this game, you won't hear any complaints out of me. I'm going to watch the game because I'm a football fan first and foremost. And second of all, it's my job. I got to watch the game. I got to report to you what I saw and talk about it on the program. So I'm stuck. Even if I didn't want to watch the game, I'm stuck. But I was going to watch the game anyway. I'm a football fan. I can't help it. It's in my DNA. That's what I do. I watch National Football League games when they're given to me. I can't turn it down. So I expect the San Diego Chargers to go out and get it done on Thursday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs. 23-13, running their record to 4-4 on the season. Surprisingly enough, as bad as they played over the last month, they're still 4-4 if they win this football game. Who would have thought it? Meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs are just struggling at this point. And now they're just grasping for straws, trying to figure out what it takes and what it's going to take to get a win. Just one win. That's all they want at this point. They just want to win again. They want to know what it feels like to win again. Well, they won't know what that feeling is come Friday because they're going to lose on Thursday Night Football to the San Diego Chargers to take their record to 1-7 on the season. And it's going to be a long season for these Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, I don't know where you go from here if you're the Chiefs. Both of these teams, honestly, it's going to be a long season, I think, for both of these teams. I don't think the Chargers are any better than the Kansas City Chiefs are right now. I honestly think the Chiefs have more talent than the Chargers do, which is crazy to say. The big difference between these two teams is that the Chiefs don't have a quarterback, and the Chargers do. And that shows you the difference in the National Football League right there. The Chiefs are the more talented football team, yet they only have one win. The Chargers are on the decline, yet they still have 3 wins on the season because they have a QB. What a difference a quarterback makes in the National Football League. Can't state it enough. It's cut and dry. You have a quarterback, you have a chance. You don't have a quarterback, bye. Thanks for playing. See you next year. And that's where the Chiefs are right now. So that's a touchdown. Throw it up. One tackle on this quick extra point. From a programming standpoint, we have the starting 5 coming up today, in addition to this episode that you are watching currently. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Also, I want to debut another episode as well, which will be chronicling the divisions in the National Football League. Each division needs to be broken down and discussed because, again, we're getting to that point in the season now where you got to start watching division standings. What teams are doing ahead of you, what teams are doing below you, and what is to come for these divisions, because both of these conferences are wide open. By keeping track of what's going on in these divisions, it's going to give you a better handle of what's going on in the National Football League. So I want to bring that to you here shortly. It should have been ready this week, and I'm probably going to push myself and make that available for you this week because I really want to get that going, and I want you to be able to see what's going on in these divisions and give you something to think about and look at as you watch these games over the weekend. So I'm going to do my best to try and push out an episode that talks about the division standings at some point before the end of this week. And then being that it's Thursday, that means I'm trying to have that happen before tomorrow. So let's see if I can get that done. And I thank you for joining me on this episode of In the Lab Room. I'm your host, Lou, again, and I thank you for joining me. Drop something in the inbox at inthelabroom@gmail.com. That is the email address. That's the inbox. I'm on Twitter at In the Lab Room. That's the Twitter handle. So like me on Facebook as well, and follow me on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Like the page. I've got every episode that I've ever done on that Facebook page. Facebook page is In the Lab Room. So those are all ways that you can access the show. And also, the easiest way and the most efficient way to access the show is through YouTube. Subscribe to the page. Louis T is the page that you would subscribe to. And if you have any trouble finding it, type in the Lab Room, week whatever. The show will pop right on up. And you just click on the Louis T tab and subscribe. It's really simple. And if you do that, every single video that I do, that I upload, because I have to go through YouTube, every single video will be right at your fingertips. It'll be right at your disposal. You won't have to go anywhere looking for the video. It'll be right there in your lap. And so that'll do it for this Thursday edition of In the Lab Room. Enjoy the game tonight. I'm going to try and do that. Let's hope it's an entertaining game. Really, even if it is, it's still the Chargers and the Chiefs. So hard to really get revved up for this one. And North Turner and the Chargers have to win this game. Not because I need to get off to a great start with a win on Thursday. Not because of that. Because if he doesn't win this game, I'm telling you right now, if they can't beat the Chiefs at home, North Turner will not be the coach of the San Diego Chargers come Friday. I'm telling you that right now. He won't be the coach. Because that's as bad as it gets. You can't beat the Chiefs at home. You don't need to have your job. And I mean that sincerely. The Chiefs are that bad this year. So that's going to do it for this episode. I thank you for joining me. Want to see you back here, same time, same place. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day. I am out.